Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm OhBSmall, and today we have another deck discussion, in particular one for Season 2, the very first one, for Season 2 of the Limited Environment Draft Tournament, and it is called Webbing Widow One Way or Another. We are going up against Black Widow, so this is specifically geared toward and built towards Black Widow, within the limit of my draft picks. So I'll go ahead and share those real quickly. For those, I'll have the link, the link to this deck. It's not a published deck, but it's in my private collection, but you'll be able to access it. So I'll have the link in the description. And if you, so you can also check out some of these other content creators and a person from the community too, actually, who's in the tournament as well. This is our particular group, and we have a second group competing with each other this year as well. So here are my draft picks. So it was the core set, and the two campaign boxes that I had were Next Evolution and Sinister Motives. And then for my 8 hero packs, I had Silk, Spider, Spider-Ham, Ironheart, Falcon, Angel, Phoenix, and Gambit. Okay? And then real quickly about the points, right? So if you win, you have a base of 10, then you subtract 1 for each threat on the main scheme. Each loss has a base of 3, which actually I need to modify this. Yeah, it's 3, and I think it's just 3 now automatically. You get that just for playing, and you get a minimum of 4 points now for your win. So, just so that's worth more than a loss. But of course, if a person doesn't play, they don't get any points. And then you subtract the number of minions and a number of side schemes in play from 10 as well. So subtract any threat on the main scheme and any minions or side schemes in play, not including, that's the encounter side schemes, not including personal player side schemes. Okay. And it's also not possible to get, a score of 0. But like I said, actually the minimum is 4 now for the win this season, so I do need to update this. The villain it was built for was Black Widow. I did play the game twice against Black Widow as practice games before playing the real game that I then recorded and should have been posted already by now. All right. So first of all, let me go ahead and explain. Actually, let's go look at Black Widow so we can see why I built the deck the way I did, and specifically why I chose Spider-Man Miles Morales to go up against Black Widow. So let's look at that now. All right, so if we go over to Black Widow on Hall of Heroes, LCG.com, I think it is, we can see that she has the ability to put lots of threat on the main scheme. So if we go to the main side of the main scheme, it starts off with 2 when she first starts in expert mode, and we are playing an expert. She places 2 threat on there right away, so she has 4, and it'll be defeated when it hits 10. And then when she gets over to her other side, when you defeat version 2, then you go on to version 3, phase 3, I don't know what to call it right now. You immediately place 3 threat on the main scheme as a solo player. So she can be dangerous right off the bat, and she can, in fact, win right away if she gets an advance. Right? She just add the 3 threat to the main scheme. If she then gets an advance and schemes and happens to draw a card that adds 3, has 3 icons on it, 3 boost icons on it, then she would win. Just like that. So she can win very easily. So it's really important to be able to thwart well when you're playing against her. In addition, she actually has 2 other cards that will also allow her to, let's see, where are they? Here they go. She has Covert Ops as well. So this is like an advance, but worse, right? So when revealed, you are confused, and then Black Widow schemes. So on top of that, you're confused. So even if she doesn't win, she could put you in a bad spot because you have to get rid of that confuse. Okay? All right. So on top of that, she has 4 side schemes that could come into play, and one of those schemes can get, actually all of those schemes can have a fair amount of threat on them. Let's take a look at those real quickly. Okay, so there are 2 that come immediately in her own encounter set. And notice this one starts with 3, plus has Hinder 1, so it'll have 4. This one comes out with 2 and has Hinder 2, so it'll have 4. But in addition to that, if you go down to her extras, let me type in scientist, Control F. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Here we go, Control F, scientist. Okay. So right here, there's also the aim abduction. So if it happens to be that you get the treachery nabbed, or bad timing when it comes to get an aim abductor minion in play, then then you'll have them under abduct superhumans. And so it starts off with 2 threat, but whatever the cost was of your ally that gets put under here, it ends up adding that much threat to it. So typically 3, sometimes even 4. So you have even more threat to deal with here. So again, very good idea to be able to manage that threat as well. All right, and then here you can see in the other one, the aim scientist part that's added, again, 2 threat plus 2 more threat added in. So you have to be able to manage threat, and you want to be able to confuse, if you can at all arrange it, you want to be able to confuse the villain as well. So now with that in mind, let's go look at the deck that was built. All right, so first of all, the selection of Miles Morales, he has his own hero abilities, right? So I wanted to, and it was a bonus that I could also stun the villain frequently as well. So that's also, of course, useful, period. But the confuse was the most important thing to me. And so we had, Miles Morales has, as one of his abilities, Spider Camouflage, special, give Spider-Man a tough status card, confuse an enemy. And he can trigger that with a couple of his, here it is. So his swing in cards, as long as you play swing in for a cost of 2 and include a mental resource when you play it, then you can trigger that Spider Camouflage ability and be able to get a tough status on yourself and confuse an enemy. In particular, I wanted to confuse the villain. And then he also has, which one is it? Defense Mechanism. It's only a 1 cost upgrade. And if you have that in play and then you use a basic power, then you can also confuse the villain this way, right? Triggering your Spider Camouflage again. So there are some some nice ways to do that just to begin with. And then I added in my allies, Dazzler and Professor X, both of whom can confuse the villain. So I had a couple of extras from that. And then one extra one, I didn't want to have too many of these because when I've tried playing with Quick Quip in the past, I found that if I ended up getting too many of these in my hand at a time, they're just kind of clogging up the deck. But I wanted to have one in case of emergency. So Quick Quip will let you deal 1 damage to one of your Web Warrior characters, and then you can place a total of 2 confused status cards and up to 2 enemies, which can be pretty nice too, actually, because you could put a confuse on, I think it's the aim scientist minion, and they have, what is that called? I can't remember what it's called, but if they get a stun or confuse on them, you can just discard their card. So it could also serve for that purpose as well. So that's meant to be just a backup to be used periodically. In addition, I wanted to have, so since this is Spider-Man, who is a Web Warrior and a champion, but particularly a Web Warrior, I was able to build basically your basic Web Warrior kit. So we have quite a few Web Warriors in here, including Ghost Spider, Madam Web, Spider, Spider-Man Hopi Brown, Spider-Man Peter Parker, Spider-Man Paviter Prabhakar, and Spider-Man Otto Octavia. So I think that's 7 altogether of those. So you can have the ability and we have Web of Life and Destiny in the deck that can let us draw some cards. Because I want to be able to draw cards regularly, I also had more cards in here to draw because I don't want Web of Life and Destiny to cost me too much to have it at the bottom of my deck. And it turned out in the game I recorded, it was at the bottom of my deck. And that wasn't the first time. So in my 2 practice runs, it came at the bottom of my deck in one of those as well. So the extra card draw in here included Nick Fury, who can draw us 3 cards when he's played, and 2 copies of One Way or Another. Plus there are 4 of those side schemes in the encounter deck. So plenty of opportunity to use One Way or Another. So including 2 of them, probably could have included 3 maybe, but I like 2. I don't like the idea of having 3 of them in my hand at a particular time and not be able to use them. So I like 2. So that's a good number there. So that's the basic idea. And then any other things, any other reasons for including somebody else? I think that's it. Oh, of course, Across the Spider-Verse, it lets us get one of those web warriors back into play again as well. Oh, and you do have to deal with that threat. So of course, with so many allies, that helps you to do so, but that's also why I included 3 copies of For Justice. And the vast majority of the time, I was able to use a mental resource to play this and therefore remove 4 threat from the scheme. I didn't have a way, Helicarrier, I didn't have a way to get, a resource generator that had wilds in, but Spider-Man a lot of the time would have web shooters in play. So those also assisted with getting the right type of resources, because you also wanted to be able to get with web shot. So 3 copies of web shot in here. You need an energy resource. And so those web shooters can help hit that too and be able to get Venom Blast and stun the villain. In addition, actually, I should mention, I do have a nice balance of mental resources and energy resources because I particularly wanted to hit those. There's also this card, Double Life, that I didn't use it in the recorded game, but it requires a physical. I wasn't too worried about hitting that physical resource, but I did actually use this in my 2 practice games, and I was able to hit that physical resource each time. So that could also be useful, but the web shooters help with that. Okay, but if you do look at the balance of the deck down here, you can see the vast majority of cards had mental resources or energy resources, right? So 16 of the mental and 15, right? So that's 31 of the 40 cards, right? It is a 40 card deck. Yeah, 31 of the 40 card deck. That were mental or energy. So it made up the vast majority. So it was easy to hit the mental and energy just about any time I wanted to. Okay, anything else? Oh, Heroic Intuition. I'm going to mention this one because I didn't play it in the game that, that was recorded, but I did play it in one of my 2 practice games, and this was an awesome addition. So I'm glad it was in the deck, even though I didn't necessarily use it. But when Miles Morales was giving him that 1 extra threat, so I never had a time when I just was able to defeat stage 3 of Black Widow, just right away. So she was always adding 3 threat when she went to stage 3. So every time it was very easy for me then that game when I did get Heroic Intuition into play, then Miles Morales had 3 thwart and he was able to remove it in 1 shot, and the other allies who were in play, or if I had an attack card in my hand, they could just attack. And in my other games, I'm pretty sure I didn't forget. You guys probably noticed in the recording, there were a couple times near the end of the game that I forgot that I needed to clear out the threat on the main scheme, so I didn't trigger Black Widow's ability, which I still don't think would have impacted the final result of the game. But I did forget at the very end because for 3 whole games, I never had to worry about it. I kept clearing the threat every time. And so I was able to go right after Black Widow and not worry about her triggering her ability and possibly getting me with preparation cards. So I felt pretty confident in that. But obviously it got to be too much of a habit, and I just completely forgot about her ability because of it at the very end of the game. But in any case, this deck felt like it was just the right balance for accomplishing what I wanted to against Black Widow. All right, looking forward to the next game, and be sure to like and subscribe if you appreciate this kind of content, and I look forward to having discussions with some people in the comment section. Have a great one, everybody.